In this video, you will learn a methodical way of searching based on the PICO framework. Benefits to using this method include confidence in finding a majority of the literature. It is systematic, meaning that it's easy to share with others. And it's reproducible, meaning that colleagues and journals can use your search string again and recreate the same search because you documented it in a methodical way. So before we dive into the PICO framework, our first step will actually be to write down your question. It's important that you are very clear in what your question is so that you can have more clarity when you are searching and finding the specific articles that will support your question. So the example question that we will be working through today, it's fairly dry, but it's nice and straightforward. So our question is, among healthcare workers, does hand washing compared to wearing masks reduce hospital-acquired infections? So now that we have clearly defined our question, we can begin to plug it into the PICO framework. So we will start with the P, patient or population, in our question, which is healthcare workers. So we've put the first part of our question, among healthcare workers, in the P section of PICO. Next, the intervention that we will be evaluating is hand washing. So we've next slotted in, does hand washing. The comparison in our question is wearing masks. So next we've slotted in, compared to wearing masks. And lastly, the outcome that we are interested in is reducing hospital-acquired infections. Now that we've entered our entire question into the PICO format, we will be able to perform 4 separate searches. So one for the P, one for the I, one for the C, and one for the O. Each of these individual searches will find a lot of results, but when we combine them, we will be able to find literature that includes all 4 of these elements. The last step before searching our broken down PICO question is to take a look at this search matrix. This search matrix can be used for many different databases. Here you can see that in the top left, we've indicated that we will be using this matrix for searching PubMed. Next, we have a row dedicated to concepts. There are 4 columns. That is where we will be putting the 4 different concepts from our PICO question. Beneath that, you can see we have both entry terms and mesh terms. In a previous video, you learned about mesh terms and entry terms and how they need to work together in order to find all of the literature that you are looking for. This is also where we will be documenting our search so that it can be reproduced and shared with others. So now we get to start searching. So we will start on the PubMed homepage. You can see that it's created by the National Library of Medicine, and here we are on the homepage. But what we actually want to search initially is the MeSH database. So in order to get there, we're going to scroll down, and then underneath the Explore heading, we're going to click on MeSH database. Now we are in the MeSH database, and we're going to start with the first part of our PICO question, the P, which is healthcare workers. So we're going to type in healthcare workers, hit search, and it's going to automatically map us to the appropriate term, which in this case is health personnel. So health personnel, we're going to read the definition to make sure that we are talking about the same thing. It looks right. So now we're going to move over to the PubMed Search Builder. This is where we're going to be building our search. So I'm going to stretch it out, and I'm going to click Add to Search Builder. So now the mesh term has been added to our search builder. And now we're going to look for entry terms. So I'm going to scroll down, and here you can see the entry terms for healthcare personnel. I'm going to highlight them all and then copy them. And the next thing I'm going to do is move them into a Microsoft Word document. So now we have a nice, fresh Microsoft Word document. I'm going to paste in those entry terms. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clear formatting. I'm just going to keep the text because I don't need those bullet points. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to identify any comma inverted language. The reason I'm doing that is because these are going to be searched as entry terms, which will search the titles and abstracts of articles that don't have mesh yet. And I highly doubt that anyone has written an abstract about personnel, comma, health. So that clunky language, we're just going to go through and delete it. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one, and then I'm going to find any other examples of comma inverted language and delete it. The next thing I would do is add some synonyms. So if this was my area of expertise and I knew a variety of terms, I would go ahead and add a lot of synonyms. For now, I'm going to leave it here. But the one thing that I am going to add is the mesh term in plain language, because we also want to catch any articles that have health personnel in the title or abstract. Now I'm going to move to the top right corner and click on the magnifying glass and then click on replace. I have a Mac, so if you have a PC, you will find and replace in this vicinity. So we are formatting these to be a search string. So I'm going to find all paragraph breaks by inserting a caret, which you do by clicking Shift 6, and then the letter P. So this will allow us to find all paragraph breaks. And we're going to replace it with quotation mark, space, capital letter O, capital letter R, space, and another quotation mark. We're going to click Replace All. And so now in all 7 places where we had a paragraph break, we're going to have a nice quote, the word or, and then another quote. So we're putting everything in quotes. We're going to clean it up by adding a quote at the beginning, and then I'm going to just copy this whole search string so I can move it to PubMed. So now we'll return to the mesh database. We are still on health personnel. It's still in our search builder as a mesh term. We're going to put in our cursor, add OR, a space, and then paste in our formatted entry terms. We're going to click Search PubMed, and we're going to get a ton of results. We searched both the mesh term and the entry terms. But remember, it's okay that we have so many results because soon we will combine it with the other parts of PICO. So now you've seen a complete demonstration of 1/4 of our PICO search. You've seen the patient population of healthcare workers searched in mesh to find the mesh term and then formatted all of the entry terms. All of that is documented here in our search matrix so that it can be replicated in the future and just kept track of as we do this process. So now it's up to you to do the I portion of the search on your own.